Welcome back. You're watching Urban Reality on CNBC TV18. Today, under the scanner of our experts, is the hope that banks hold to recover some part of their NPAs by selling off properties of loan defaulters. In fact, what we also need to cover in light of the big PNB scam, Nirav Modi, and the default by Rotomac promoter is how much of the monies have been moved out of the country also by these so-called billionaires, and is there any hope of banks to lay their hands on these overseas assets? Vivek Kohli, is there anything in legislation which provides that you can actually get some of these overseas assets also included when you're looking at recovery?
Well, sure. If you want to go after the overseas assets, the first step that you're going to have to do, Manisha, is prove that the ownership or the beneficial ownership of the asset lies with the defaulting promoter or the promoter family over here. Now, that by itself, given, the fundamental nature in which all these properties are housed, under trusts, various layers, companies and tax havens, it's a fairly difficult job to, trace out the money trail and then, arrive at that this is a property which is actually the result of the money which was siphoned off. So it's a tough job. It's not that it hasn't happened before, but unfortunately within India, I don't think we have a very happy, great track record of being able to do that. So while you may go after all assets in India, the foreign assets really, unless they are well known or established or acknowledged as that of the promoter family, I really don't see how you're going to get into a very quick result over there. That is always going to be a difficult proposition.
Okay, so let me come back to then the two big scams that we are discussing today, which is the Nirav Modi, Gitanjali properties, which have got attached, and also the Rotomac promoter properties. Vivek Kohli, run us through the process in terms of how long could these properties take to come into the market and banks get their hands on them? What happens now?
So if these properties, if they are mortgage properties, then as Sumant said that, you'll go under the SAFESI law, you give a 60-day period notice. And after that, the process kicks in. You simply, after that, put them up for auction. If the defaulter has any remedy, it's only before the DRT. He can go and file his essay and, whatever comes out of that. Usually, courts are extremely reluctant now granting a stay without an upfront deposit. So there's at least there's some color of the money that you will see immediately when the property goes into auction if the promoter wants to preserve it. Other than that, if you're going at, unmortgaged properties, then it's kind of a little bit of a tedious thing. Then you'll have to go establish that the loan was there's a default, and then you'll go after it under the recovery process, which is a slightly longer process, not like the 10-15-year process that used to exist in the 90s. Now it's down to 3 to 5 years. But yeah, sure. I mean, that process is pretty summary and it's pretty efficient.
All right. 3 to 5 years. Okay, Vivek. Let me get Ramesh.
Manisha, can I just make one point, Manisha?
Okay, very quickly,
Manisha,
because I do need to go to Ramesh.
Just to supplement Vivek, very quickly. You see, there is another dimension to it, just to supplement Vivek, which is also the proceeds of crime issue, because it's a criminal investigation here, and the enforcement directorate, they would have attached, or they would seek to attach various assets, claiming that these have been the assets that have been created out of proceeds of crime, and therefore, they may not be easily available for sale even otherwise, irrespective of whether they're mortgaged or not, because the proceeds of crime has a different
meaning altogether.
Adds a different dimension altogether to these.
Okay, different dimension. Ramesh Nair, right in the beginning, we raised the point about stigma being attached to some of these properties. Look at the entire Sahara portfolio or the Vijay Mallya house in Mumbai, the new properties which have come up for sale today. What's been your own experience? I mean, is it harder to sell all the properties which come in public eye and make headlines, and it's easier to sell those which don't come into public eye?
I don't think there's too much of a stigma when marketing these kind of properties. We've been appointed to market some of these properties. I think the other big challenges is we all spoke about getting the right valuation done. That's very important. Second is on titles. A lot of times when banks take these properties as collateral, not enough checks are done, or not enough checks are done on titles. So that's something which needs to be fixed. We have also heard of cases where some of these promoters fraudulently mortgage the same property with multiple financial institutions or banks. So that's another big problem. What's also been happening is because of the high interest costs, especially if you look at the industries like real estate where interest costs can vary anywhere from 9 to 25%, what's been happening is the interest cost is going up every year, every quarter, but the capital appreciation has not happened, because of which there's a wide gap in what the developer has to pay. So that's another challenge. We've seen many a times promoters and developers make a backdoor entry to get to some of these properties. And one thing we need to admit is the government is particularly not the best of marketers for these kind of things. This needs to be well marketed, whether it's marketed in the country, whether internationally, with good marketing collateral, with good advertisement. So that marketing process also plays a very important role
in selling all of these. But 3 to 5 years, that is what we are looking at. And look at some of the addresses of the personal properties, these billionaire businessmen who for now seem beyond the reach of law hold. Taxpayers' money, which should be used for schools and hospitals, infrastructure in the country, will now go into cleaning this mess. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in and pointing out that it's going to be a hard sale, the sale of these assets, and of course, hope of recovering much for the banks. But so when you read headlines saying that, look, so-and-so property has been attached, well, it's going to take years, 3 to 5 years, if not more, to recover any money for the banks. Thank you very much for joining me.